And what we want to do here is build some magical items called red and green wires. Howdy friends, it's your old pal Shred, welcoming you back to another episode of Frogger World. In this episode, we're going to burn off some of this pesky heavy and light oil, and then we're going to jump right into our red circuit build. So let's go ahead and get started. So before we get started with our oil project, I'm down by our build everything part of the base. And what we want to do here is build some magical items called red and green wires. So now's as good of a time as any to go ahead and let's start building these. And I figured this was as good of a place as any to put these down. So we are going to, this will be our wires. This will be red wires, green wires. We'll do something like that. And there we go. Easy peasy. So I just want to show you that when I start breaking out the red and green wires, that I just didn't pull them out of my rear end, that we actually were building them somewhere. All right, so we're up here at our oil refining build, and we can see, we touched on this last video, that we have a bit of a problem. We only have 1K petroleum gas, but we're completely full on the heavy oil, light oil. And because these are full, because there's nowhere for these refineries to output their light and heavy oil, they're not running at all, despite us not being completely full on petroleum. That's a problem. And the best way to solve that problem is get to advanced oil and cracking as soon as possible. But that research takes blue science. To get to blue science, we got to rectify this problem now. What we're going to do, we're going to turn some of this stuff into flamethrower fuel. We're going to turn the rest of it into solid fuel. I feel okay with turning it into solid fuel because it's not going to go to waste. We're eventually going to use this solid fuel to be turned into rocket fuel to launch a rocket. Ultimately, that's where we want to get. And we're not going to make so much solid fuel that it's never going to be used. This is a short-term fix. So first thing I think I need to do is research flammables and another military research. What I'm going to do while I'm waiting for that to finish up, I already built some chemical plants. I know that the flamethrower fuel goes into a chemical plant. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put down, there we go. And I think this is it to create flamethrower fuel research. We're going to put down 7 chem plants here. And there we go. That didn't take long at all. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to put down another 7 to, dang it, it's too close. I think we need to push it out a little bit more. Hold on. All right, so I think that'll work. So what I did, I got one of these is going to be reserved for flamethrower fuel, right? These 7 to the north of the flamethrower fuel is going to be making heavy oil into solid fuel. And then these ones at the bottom are going to make light fuel into solid fuel. And the reason I'm using 7 up here and 14 down here is because I want to set this to only burn off just the top. I just want to imagine this tank. I just want to burn off a little bit of the top heavy oil and a little bit of the top of the light oil, just so we can keep enough petroleum. So basically all the tanks will be full. And what happens is these take actually a fairly long time. These take 3 seconds and turn 2 heavy oil into 1 solid fuel. But we're using 2 heavy oil. So essentially the heavy oil to solid is created faster. Well, I won't say it's created faster, but we use more heavy oil to create a piece of solid fuel than we do with light oil. Light oil only takes 1 light oil, again, takes 3 seconds to make a solid fuel. So to burn off the same amount, to burn off just the top layer of these oils as quickly as possible, we need more of these light to solid than we need heavy to solid. So let me go ahead and connect all this up. Okay, so we got the pipes laid down. We have some lights laid, power poles, etc., etc. And just laying down all these pipes, we can see it drained off just the top, just a little bit out of these tanks for the light and heavy oil. And you can see that allowed all our refineries to turn back on. Perfect. So now what we want to do, we're going to lay down some power poles. And we're going to, this is why I wanted our green wires. We're going to connect, we'll just connect them all. And we'll connect all our tanks with this green wire. And basically what's going to happen now is that we have, if we look over to the right, we can see an indication of exactly how much we have of each item. There's 2.2 light, 2.2 heavy, and 1.7 petroleum. Now what I want to do is we're going to set up inserters. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to run a green wire to each one of these. And now that that green wire is connected to all these inserters, we're going to set the inserter, since these chemical plants are for heavy oil, we're going to set it so if heavy oil, turn on if heavy oil is greater than 2400. And since these guys can hold 2500 units of fluid, essentially we'll only start using up that fluid if we get over 2400. So we're giving ourselves, we're basically going to chop off that top 100 units of fluid and putting it into chests. And you can see that since we have 2400, or at least 2400 units of heavy oil, this is working. So I'm going to copy paste, lay down chests. All right, so now that the heavy oil is done, we're going to do the same thing to the light, and we're going to grab our green wires, run it over, and hit it there. And we'll do the same thing. If light oil is greater than 2400, we'll allow this to work. Set down a chest, and there it goes. Because we have over 2400 light oil, this inserter is working. And because now we have 23 or 2.3K, 2.2, that it is, these are not working. So I'm just going to go ahead, connect all the inserters, and lay down chests. All right, and then now for our flamethrower, we would just go ahead, lay this down like that, a chest, and then instead of bringing iron plate up here, I'm not going to use that much. I'm just going to fill up a chest, throw in some iron plate. There it goes. We'll do that. And then we're just going to go ahead. We're going to use a wire again. We're going to set this like that. We're going to connect this chest to this inserter. I'm going to set the inserter so that if it will operate only if flamethrower ammo is less than, we'll say 100. Probably won't even use that much. So I'm not necessarily using this to burn off that top layer. That's what these other chem plants are for. This was essentially just to show you how to make flamethrower fuel and how you can use it, how you can set up your initial oil build to burn off at least a little bit of that top layer. And actually, now that I think about it, I'm going to switch this to 50 because I barely ever use these. All right, so that should finish up for now for our oil refining. We can see that our refineries are basically turned off, even though there's crude in there, because our petroleum is full. Our chem factories aren't producing any more solid. So it'll work for now, and it's going to be temporary until we get advanced oil refining and cracking. And probably what will happen, I'll just maybe turn these inserters around, put them into a regular assembly machine, and just immediately turn it into rocket fuel, because we need 10 solid fuel for every rocket fuel. So, we turn almost 150 solid fuel into 15 rocket fuel. So the amount of chests that this is going to ultimately take up, probably not going to be a big thing. And that being said, if we look at our tech, advanced oil processing, that'll be one of the first things we'll do once we get our blue science. And then ultimately, this isn't going to matter. So this is just to get, we're just going to use this for a little bit. All right, so now that we got our oil kind of squared away for the meantime, let's go ahead and take a look at our red circuit build. What I think I'm going to do, I think I'm going to have, because we need plastic, we need copper, we need green circuits. So plastic, green circuits, and then copper will come in down here somewhere. I'm going to bring this in about 8 spots, and this will be our, what we're going to do, we're going to create the copper cable on site. So that's why we're going to bring copper down. And so we're going to bring in the ingredients this way, and then we're going to work our way. Our build's going to go back this way since we got all this space. And then red circuits are going to exit over on this side and then work their way down the line. But we'll also split off some to do our blue science. So back here, we're going to leave a space of 3. I'm going to leave a space of 3. So this will be copper, and then this is going to be actually our red circuits. Before I go any farther, let me go ahead and get some lights and power hooked up here. All right, so we got some lights so we can see because it's kind of dark. And these are all going to be red circuits. Now feel free to go ahead and do some ratios, but 1 copper cable can feed 8 of these guys. And we're going to have the output of these come in here, and we're going to have 2 lanes feeding it like that. I believe I wanted to set this up so that the copper wires will flow that way. So essentially we're going to have something like this. And with that, and then we'll bring in our copper plate, squeeze it in as close as possible. We'll feed the copper plate in like that. So copper plate coming in, copper cables coming out, copper cables, we're going to have a full, at least offloading on both sides of the belt. That gets split up to both sides. And then I'm again going to use the JG Game splitter. And I think what I want to do, just so we get this nice and tight in here, we use some underground belts. Now, one thing I haven't thought about, if I want to build multiple, which I don't know how many, I mean, that's 16 right there. These produce at 1 every 8 seconds. So that's 2 per second. I don't know how big of a factory I want to get, but I guess I haven't thought about bringing more lines of copper down with this build, but I guess we'll deal with that when the time comes. We'll jump over this. That way we can try to keep our footprint. I like keeping the footprint as compact as possible. And then whatever this was this green circuits? Yeah, green circuits will come in this way. Plastic will go in that way. Now all that's left to do is put in some inserters. And I'll actually just put in the regular inserters on the output. Again, we're only outputting 1 every 8 seconds. A regular inserter can handle that. But since we need 4 copper cable every second, we'll go ahead and use a fast inserter here. And then to reach off this other belt, I originally designed this to use 2 longhand inserters, but we'll see. Maybe we can get away with 1. And there we go. Everything is essentially all ready to go. All we got to do is start hooking up our resources. And it looks like for now we could actually get away with just 2. Could probably get away with less inputting. But when we upgrade it to the level 3, we might even be able to, at this stage, just be able to use 1. No, we can see that we need at least 2 keep this full of copper. And we can't get rid of them fast enough, so we need at least 2 to output. And let's take another look, see how this is working. And there we go, perfect. It has plenty of copper in. All the copper cables are getting outputted. There's no backlog, perfect. So let's go ahead and hook up the plastic and the green circuits. So the green circuits and plastic have made their way down essentially to the end of the line. We'll just fill up a little box and monitor this and see if in fact 2 red inserters will do the trick. And as we can see, because it takes so long to craft a red circuit, that 1 red inserter has more than enough time to fill up the assembly machine between each crafting cycle. So we'll just leave it like that for now. Maybe it will change when we get to the level 3, but you know, add modules, etc. And just leave that, let that fill up. And there we go. We have red circuits. And we can see a little light on green circuits. So we might be getting to the point where we may want to expand our green circuit build. I've left room so we can just keep adding on it down this way. Well, friends, that's going to do it for this episode of Frogger World. In the next episode, well, I was planning on doing blue science, but in the next couple days, 0.15 is going to be upon us, and I don't see any point in doing 0.14 blue science when, in a few days, science is going to be completely changed. So we're going to wait till then. But don't worry, we're going to keep going with this Frogger World build, and we're going to be able to switch it over. And that way we can kind of compare and contrast as to what's all changed. So if you like this video, please leave a like. And if you want to keep up to date on all this Factorio goodness, especially all the new stuff that's going to be popping off in 0.15, be sure to subscribe. So until next time, peace out, be good, see you.